The Pro Organizers coaching community is live. When you join, you're going to get bi-weekly group coaching with me, monthly workshops, and of course, the community of other professional organizers. Go to proorganizers.community to sign up for the membership while enrollment is still open, and I will see you on the inside. You are listening to the Pro Organizers Coach podcast. I'm Samantha Brown, a professional organizer and business coach. In this podcast, you will learn how to start and scale the organizing business of your dreams. So let's jump in. All right. So welcome back to the Pro Organizers Coach podcast. On today's episode, I have a new organizer named Heather, who was kind enough to offer to come on the podcast and do a coaching session. So, hi, Heather. Thank you for joining me.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
So, real quick, I thought we would start with you just telling me a little bit about your journey so far, and then that way we can kind of understand where you are on the path of starting your business.
Sure. So I started out as a teacher, an elementary school teacher, and I've actually stayed home with my kids for the last 12 years. When I had my third, about 4.5 years ago, I decided I needed to do something outside of the house to keep my sanity. So I started working as the director of children and family ministries at my church. And so that has really been a lot of organizing in general. I have not only organized all the spaces at church, but just it's a lot of event organizing and organizing volunteers and organizing kids and things like that. And then throughout COVID and the pandemic, when we were at home a lot at the beginning, I really started simplifying and decluttering my own life and my own house. My husband was in the military, and so we moved a lot. And throughout that time, I was constantly doing it because we were constantly moving. So, every time you move, you pack up and you're like, oh, I don't want to have to move this again. So it's easy to get rid of things. He's out of the military and we've been in our current house for 10 years. And so, just the stuff that builds up, the more kids you have and the longer you live somewhere. So really over the last year, I have just been able to enjoy a simpler life with less stuff and a more organized house and lifestyle in general. And I just have really felt that it's my passion and I would love to help other people get to this place as well.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful because I talk about it on the podcast all the time, but it is so important to have your why, because there are going to be those days that you're like, okay, I quit, I throw in the towel, this is not worth it anymore. And so remembering how you feel now in these moments, that desire to help other women feel how you're feeling now and how good life feels for you now, and comparing it to how stressed you used to be. There's women out there still living that stressed life and that you want to be able to give that to them. Remembering that is going to be key as you start to build your business, especially in the beginning, because in the beginning, it is so much harder than it is once it gets going, right? Like pushing a ball in a way, it's like you're pushing it up the hill as you start building the business and as you start to get clients. But then as you get clients, and once you've done all those steps to get it out there and to start working with clients, then the momentum kind of follows. It does get easier and easier, but the building the business side of it at the very beginning, there are stressors in that. And I think it's important going into that to just be aware so you don't get in those moments and think, it's just too stressful for me. I can't do this, to understand, okay, these moments are going to come. It's kind of like raising kids, right? Like you get those moments where you're like, I want to throw in the towel. This is too stressful. But as a mom, we don't have that choice. And so I think committing to the business in a way that we do as parents, and it kind of almost being our little kid that we're growing up really is important when you are first starting out is that commitment. And so I hope that's helpful as you get going to understand that there will be those stressful days, but in the long term, it's so worth it.
I think that's an interesting comparison to compare it to parenting, because I feel like it is so overwhelming thinking about starting a business because I've never done it before, but I'm sure down the road it will be worth it. Seems very overwhelming.
When you had your first baby, right? Like, how overwhelming did that seem? Because you'd never been a parent before. As you did it, because you didn't really have much of a choice, you figure it out as you go, And it's kind of the same with starting a business. Like, if you commit to it, and I heard this said the other day, I was listening to someone else's podcast, and this woman had like $1 billion company and all these things. And they were asking her, like, how did you get so much confidence? And how did you build this? And she said, she goes, it's not confidence. She said, it's literally commitment and knowing that when I get to these places where I don't know how to do it, I'm committed to learning how to do it. And I know as long as I show up every day willing to learn, then I'm going to succeed. Yeah, I thought that was so good because, a lot of times we come to it and we think, oh, we have to know all the answers in the beginning. And it's really the opposite. We have to come with a heart of, okay, it's okay if I don't know everything. I'll learn as I go.
That's a great way to look at it.
I wanted to ask you, how best could I serve you today?
So when I was thinking about this, I realized like I don't even really know what questions to ask. Like I feel I'm at the very beginning where like what do I even do first? I manage my church's website, I run the social media. So I mean I'm familiar with, that as far as setting a website up and advertising on social media and stuff. I have some experience in that. But I don't know, like for a typical business, like what kind of website do you even get? Like, how do you get someone to design your logo? I mean, like, I don't even know where to start. So I think if you could just help direct me what to do first, second, and third, that would be great.
Yeah. So, first off, I actually, on my website, the very first thing I created when I was creating the website for Pro Organizers Coach was a PDF that has a get started like checklist. For me, that would have been super helpful to have an actual checklist. And now this does not mean that you have to go through and do every single thing that is on the list. That is not what I'm saying. But I know for us as, type A personalities, we like to have something to look at that like it gives us at least an idea of like which way are we heading and what should we be working towards. There's a few different trains of thought out there that some people say go ahead and start with the clients first to see if you even like it and to kind of do it as a side hobby before you start actually going legit with the business, because it is costly to get your LLC or your solopreneur things. Just everything has a fee attached to it when it comes to, the website and the logo and all of those things. But then I also know there's this other train of thought where some women feel better having those things in place before they put themselves out there because it makes them feel more legitimate, quote unquote, And so I guess my question for you would be, would you feel better having those things when you tell your friends and family and whoever you run into, hey, I'm a professional organizer?
Probably. I mean, I think just my personality type, like the first thing I did when I was like, man, I just really love this. I love organizing. It's like all the podcasts I listen to, all the, things I'm drawn to for the last year plus have been around organizing. And so the first thing I did was, okay, is there some type of class I can take or like courses, because that's just my personality. And when I found that, well, that's not really the way, typically the way it works, I was like, oh, well, then what do I do first? So I do feel like that would probably make me feel better.
I was the same way. There's a lot of people out there that are that other train of thought, and that's great too. Yeah. But I was of the train of thought of I want to get all of my foundational pieces in place first, like as a quote unquote business owner, right? At the very beginning, I did not worry about the solopreneur thing. I didn't worry about the backside of the business things, but I did go ahead and get my website up, get my Facebook page up, the things that people will see. Your Google My Business account is huge because how does everyone find anyone nowadays? They Google it.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Right.
I mean, if there was nothing else that you did, it would literally be the Google My Business page. The Facebook page is important because it gives you a place to put your before and after photos and to invite friends and family to kind of let them know, hey, look what I'm doing. And
Mhm.
a lot of people in the age range that would be looking for professional organizers are more likely to be on Facebook, but you could also go the Instagram route. I just would not recommend doing both at first. At first, you want to
Okay.
get good at one or the other. So, are you
Mhm.
naturally an Instagram poster type person or more of a Facebook?
Well, for my current like job, I do all the Facebook, for our church. Spend a lot of time personally on Facebook, but I'm very comfortable with the business page and how that works.
Point of this, right, is to stay true to who you are. So that's why I was
Mhm.
asking, because if you were someone that, posted every day on Instagram, but I was like, hey, go make a Facebook page, like
Right.
that's not going to fall into who you are as a person. But if you are already running your church's Facebook page, and while you're on that page, you could click over to your page and put a quick post, it makes
For
your life
sure.
easier because it's already authentic to who you are.
Mhm.
And then the website, in my opinion, and again, all of this is just from trial and error and what I've learned over the
Mhm.
time. When you first start your website, I would not make it like super long, super detailed, because the point is to just get like, maybe a 2 to 3 page website just to have something, right?
Right.
And
Mhm.
you definitely want a photo of yourself because they need to see who you are. And
Mhm.
and then there are multiple free platforms that you can get photos off of that are like those pretty professional organized photos.
Mhm.
You can use a few of those. Just make it very kind of short and simple. The page 2 could either be an about you page where it tells your story, because sometimes I've had clients that have called me specifically because they read my about page.
Mhm.
Or you don't even have to do a page 2. You could just add a section about you on page 1 and just make page 1 a little longer. Which is actually, now that we're sitting here talking, probably what I would suggest at first. Like
Mhm.
eventually you could always add like a before and after photos tab once you get before and after photos, right? Because what I've seen on my professional organizing business website where it shows the analytics, like 80% of the people are only on the homepage. They
Mm.
don't ever click to any other tab. They scroll down that homepage and then they either go to the contact form page or they are just done type thing.
Mhm.
And so the other only page that I would definitely have is a contact form page, but it's
Mhm.
literally just a way for you to get information if they are interested in working with you.
And like I said, I run my church's website, which is quite a large website. What
So
do you
I
even use?
Yeah, so I personally like Squarespace. The reason I like Squarespace is A, it is very, very, very user friendly.
Mhm.
B, the price of it, you can either choose to pay monthly or you can choose to pay annually.
Okay.
But I tried at the beginning, I think I tried Wix. It's not that they're bad or good. It really is more, there's WordPress. But for me
Mhm.
personally, WordPress was more of if you were running a blog, right? Like that's kind of
Right.
more the point of that. And I'm not a writer, bloggy kind of person. So that wasn't going to work
Uh-huh.
for me. And then with Kajabi, it's like their base thing is some astronomical fee per month. And I was looking to spend like, $15 a month kind of thing.
Right.
Like I needed
Right.
it
Something
very,
simple.
very cheap, very, very easy, and to where I could just get it out there and be done with it. But
Right.
that it also had the options. And that's the other good thing about Squarespace is it has all these add-ons. So as you grow, you can add on or you can update or you can tweak as you get bigger or want to pay
Okay.
more. But their basic one is very, very good for, just
Okay.
starting.
That's
Yeah.
good to know. Okay. So then on the client side of things, I mean, what this may sound dumb, but what do you do once you get a client? What
Yeah,
does that look
no,
like?
no, no, no. That does not sound dumb at all. I'm actually in the process of the membership that I'm starting. The goal is for it to kind of be like a Netflix, like a monthly subscription. So it's not some astronomical fee, but that each month it includes a couple of group coaching calls. It includes a topic of the month. And then we are also in the process of starting some workshops. But I think it would be very beneficial to almost have like role playing of when you get a phone call, when you're working with a client, when, those times that seem so scary when you've not done it before.
Right.
So the way I did it was I actually did kind of a friends and family, which with you working for the church and working with kids at your church, like I have a feeling you are going to have a huge network of moms and women that are going to be like, yes, please come help me organize my home. Right. And so what I did and what I kind of recommend for people to do if it's an option and they're not trying and they don't have to make like a ton of money tomorrow, is
Yeah, that's for sure my goal. Like I would like to just start really slowly and for sure have a while where I'm just doing it for fun essentially. Not charging anyone, just sort of getting my feet wet, doing this background stuff on the side,
yes.
that
And
kind of
there
thing.
is, and you can kind of play with that, right? Like you could charge them like $50 so that way they don't cancel on you because people have a habit of if they have no money in it, they're going to cancel on you.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh-huh.
But you could also do it for free. However you wanted to do that. You always tell them, "Hey, I'm looking for," and you give it a number. Like I'm looking for 3 people that I'm willing to do, a free 2-hour session, 3-hour session. Like, you got to put a number on it because if not, you'll be there all day for free.
Right.
But I'm looking for 3 people, to do like a 3-hour session with for free. But what I need back from you are I need you to go to my Google page and leave me a review, a 5-star
Mhm.
review. You got to make sure you say
Right.
5-star review.
Right.
um, and I would love feedback from you. Like there's things that they also have to be willing to let you take the before and after photos because then
Right.
that starts building your portfolio of your before and after photos.
Mhm.
It gives you the experience and it also gives you that taste of what it is like to work with a client because it's hard to know until you're in that moment. One thing that is super helpful when you do go to work with a client, and I just went to Amazon, which, you work with kids, so you probably have cute little folders all over the place. But I went to Amazon and got like, a 6-pack of folders for like $10 or whatever it was. But they were the cute little like pink marbly, like professional looking, folders.
Uh-huh.
And I put my contract in it. I put a mutual release of liability form, which essentially just I had them sign. And what that means is if I get hurt at your home, or I'm not going to sue you. And if you get hurt while we're doing this, you're not going to sue me. Like we're both releasing liability from one another.
Okay, that's
Is
really good to know. Okay.
Yeah, that's what that is. And then the other thing I would have in my folder for myself more than really for them was kind of an information sheet. So it's, if you want to continue working with me, here are my prices. Here are, how I do my sessions. And speaking of, we probably need to figure that out for you, right? Like, how are you doing yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So there's a few different ways that people do it. So some people do package pricing where, you walk in, you walk through the home and you're like, okay, this will probably take me, you know, uh, 15 hours to do. And so the total for 15 hours at $100 an hour is $1,500. You owe me $1,500 today for all 10 hours or, however that is.
Right.
I have never been a component of that because especially at first, I didn't know how long it was going to take me. Like
That's what overwhelms me when I look at other people's. I'm like, what?
for me, I had to make it very basic, right? To give myself confidence when I was walking into these
Mhm.
homes. For me, what that meant was at first, I decided how much I wanted to charge, which you and I will talk about that in a minute for you. Once I decided how much I wanted to charge per hour, I figured up, okay, if it normally takes me about 30 minutes before a session, like driving, because I figure out it's probably going to be within about 45 minutes of my home. Then I do a 3-hour session. For me, I always offer to haul off the donations and trash at the end of the session. And so I added that in, that's hour like 4. And then it would take me maybe 30 minutes to drive home. So total, I would have, an hour's driving time, 3 hours at the session, and at least an hour of hauling off donations and trash. So I would base it on 5 hours. So when I first started, I was charging, I think it was like $50 an hour. And so I times, I'm sorry, it was $40 an hour because I times that by 5, and that gave me my $197 price because it was 200, but there's something about psychologically like doing a 7 at the end, that like makes people feel like they're not paying as much.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was charging $200 per session, but I would explain to them what that includes is the free consultation in the beginning for us to come up with a plan. It includes the actual session. And on the day of, I come in with a plan ready to get started. We will declutter and organize for 3 hours. And I tell them I can normally get a room done in about 3 hours, unless it's a bigger room. And then, like a kitchen or a garage, those may take a couple of sessions. And so I would leave it very kind of open to them, and then I would say, and at the end of each session, I haul off all of that day's donations and trash, which their eyes get excited. They're like, you haul it off? I don't have to deal with it. What? Like that's very worth it for them. And so, when you tell people what's included and you kind of focus on the fact that like, that you are there to kind of be their hands and feet, like, and you seem like a very good people person. So we just need to get kind of your elevator pitch tweaked down as you go. It's hard to do right now because you've not even worked with a client, but as we go along the journey, I can definitely help you tweak as we go and figure out the exact details. Now on pricing real quick, have you done any market research in your area to see what organizers are charging?
So in my area, I am not in a suburb. I'm like 40 minutes outside of larger city. But then the town where I live in is a college town and definitely a wealthier town. So, but we don't have any organizers that I know of or that I've been able to find in my local area. Now in the city there are. So that's sort of throwing me, I'm not sure about that.
Okay. How much are the ones in the city charging?
I think like 70 to a lot of them have packages, which again, that automatically just confuses me because,
and can I tell you, it doesn't just confuse you, it confuses the client.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good to know because I'm like, how in the world do you even figure that out?
Well, and you will figure it out as you go. And, you may decide after 5 or 6 clients that, hey, I would like to do package pricing. And then, but maybe your package pricing is like, okay, it's, 2 sessions is a package or, not like 20 hours of organizing or 40 hours of organizing type thing. Because I think when people start seeing those huge numbers, and the way I also did it, which kept it very kind of easy and like just easy for the client, easy for me, was I always told them I expect payment the day of services. So at the end of the session, you will pay me the $197 for that day's work. And then from there, we'll set up the next session. And I always tell them I can do multiple sessions back to back and we can like tackle this thing, and get it all done. Or if you want to do 1 session per week until we get your home done or 2 sessions per week, because I understand finances are a legit thing. And so whatever you can afford and whatever feels comfortable for you, because I want you to be happy at the end of the day is what I would always kind of tell the clients, which always ease their mind because then they're like, oh, thank goodness that you're not charging me like $1,500. And we haven't even started 1 day's worth of work yet. So I don't even know what I'm getting from you. Yeah.
Right. For sure. So I feel like I just looked at the couple that I looked at, that I looked at before. And a lot of them say like organized by space or there's like packages. So I don't really know what the hourly rate.
For me personally, I always felt like I want to know up front.
Yeah,
And if,
same.
if someone's looking at my website, I want them to see how much it costs, because
Mhm.
that's going to weed out me even having to take the time to have conversations with people that can't afford the prices that I'm offering.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, for
so it
sure.
just helps weed it out to where when they get on the phone with me, they already know what my prices are. And so they're at least
Right.
somewhat okay with those prices, or they wouldn't have even filled out my contact form or reached out to me in the first place.
Yeah, that makes sense. It seems like that would sort of narrow it down so you weren't fielding phone calls that, might not
Yeah. And
bring
having people
business.
be like, it
So,
costs what?
yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, no, it's actually a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the part too, right? Like, we have to set our client expectations. And a lot of times with our clients, when they call, right, they're in a place of, I know I need help. I'm not really sure
Mhm.
what kind of help I need, but I know something's got to change. Something's got to give. I need some help. I'm just not really sure what I need. And so
Mhm.
when you're walking in, you are the authority. Like,
Mhm.
you are the person that is coming to the rescue, so to speak, to help them in their stuff, which is
Yeah.
why I always offered, like, I always did the phone call, and I would ask, I have a list of questions I ask during the phone call, but then I
Mhm.
also always did the free consultation. And when I first started, it's so funny. I always thought my free consultation would be like, 30 minutes in and out. Like, I'd have a quick little conversation, and shorter was better. I have now learned that my free consultation, I'm lucky if I get out of there within an hour.
So, back to sort of like what you do when you start. This seems mystifying to me. How do you, if you do need to buy different storage containers or options or whatever, how does that work?
I always tell my clients that we are going to use what you have, because the majority of
Mhm.
people that call you needing a professional to come in and help them organize have already tried to do it on their own. So they've already
Okay. Oh,
got like
that's
bins and
interesting.
baskets, and they've got all the things,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
that's the first step they think they should do when they're organizing, is buy more stuff, right?
Right.
Like,
Which stresses me out, but yeah,
right.
okay, I get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And so for me personally, I always tell them, but that's also why it's so important to do that consultation, is because during the
Okay.
consultation, you're going to decide, you're going to ask them, what area is giving you the most stress? And if they
Mhm.
say, my kitchen, for instance, okay, great.
Mhm.
So then our first session should be the kitchen, because right now that's your biggest pain point. So we need to get that
Mhm.
tackled.
Mhm.
So from the consultation, you're walking through the kitchen, and let's say that you get into an area and you're like, oh, we could really use some kind of, pot dividers or pot holders or whatever. You
Mhm.
also have to then ask them, what is your budget?
Right.
Because
Right.
these things cost a lot of money,
Right.
and it adds up very quickly. And so you have to
Yes, for
ask
sure.
them, what is your budget for like the supplies and the organizing products? Some people are going to
Mhm.
say, oh, there's not a budget. I just want it to like look fantastic. Those people are so few and far between. It's ridiculous.
Sure.
Most
I'm
people
sure.
are going to say, well, I'm already paying an arm and a leg for you to come, so I don't
Right.
really have much extra money for these other things. So then you're
Right.
left with a few options, right? You're left with trying to figure out, like, either on Amazon or like Dollar Tree, if there's a way to maybe kind of help that area, but only be very small amount of money.
Mhm.
Or you can then also ask them, well, do you already have any organizing supplies that you would like us to use in the kitchen? And normally they're like, oh,
Okay.
yeah, those are in the garage. Let me go get the whole box and
Okay.
like,
Right. Right.
it really is a matter of like just asking those questions, and
Uh-huh.
it's all about getting clarity. So, any question that you have while you're there doing the consultation, ask them. They'll tell you.
Okay.
They'll tell you
Mhm.
yes or no, or no, I don't have anything, or no, I don't have a budget, or yeah, I've got a budget and you can spend
Okay.
whatever you want, or yeah, you just have to
Okay.
ask those things, because every single client is going to be so different. no two sessions are ever the same, ever. But the process is always the same, right? So that's why I know a lot of people charge for consultations, but I personally don't, especially at the beginning, because I'm trying to get as much practice in as I possibly can.
That makes sense.
And I didn't want pricing to be a barrier as to why. Plus, I personally also know if I can get in front of them and have a face-to-face conversation, they're going to book with me. But
yeah, for sure.
If it's just over the phone, the ones that I can't convince to let me at least come do the consultation, I never get the sale ever.
Right.
Because they don't know me. They don't trust me. Why should they spend money with me? They're just going to call the next person. But if I don't give them any reason to say no, and I just tell them, listen, it's a free consultation. If at the end of it, you don't feel comfortable or you'd rather go with someone else, no harm, no foul. Because when people call, they call with questions like, well, how can I organize this? Or how can I do this? Or, this pantry has been driving me nuts. Two things on that. One is you don't want to explain anything over the phone. You want to then say, well, it's very hard for me to tell you how to organize or declutter something without actually seeing the space. But I do offer a free consultation, and I would love to come look at the space with you and see what kind of plan we could come up with. Right? Because now it's a we are coming up with the plan. The other tip is when you get in on that consultation, do not tell them how you're going to do it.
Okay.
Or they're going to go do it on their own. And then before your session, they're going to call and cancel.
Right.
Yeah. But you do get excited about, oh my gosh, I've got so many ideas, like this would look amazing. And like, you have to be excited and you have to seem like you have like just all the things running through your brain. You just don't go through the actual details of how.
Right. What do you do how do you know like that you're going to feel comfortable going to someone's house? I mean, has there ever been a time or a situation where you personally don't feel comfortable? I mean, I live in a pretty safe area, but
go get some mace that's on your keychain. Just as a backup. B, you always keep your keys and your phone in your hands at all times when you're doing the consultation, period. And when you're on the phone with someone, your intuition is going to tell you like, hey, something's kind of off. If you get that feeling, then you need to let them know, oh my goodness, I am just I would love to help you right now, but I am so booked out. I see your phone number here on my phone. I'll send you a couple other organizers in the area that maybe you can reach out to, but we're not taking new clients right now. If you get that intuition gut feel. Now, if you don't get that and you're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing. And you get to the consultation, like I've done a couple times, and it is either a legit hoarding situation where there's like not even a path to walk through.
Oh gosh.
Right. Or B, then you start to feel uncomfortable at the consultation. That's why you keep your keys and all your stuff in your hand. That way at any point in time, if you need to be like, listen, I got to go, or, oh my gosh, there's a family emergency, I'll reach back out to you soon, and like hit the door, whatever you need to do to keep yourself safe. But more than likely, I've not had that, the feeling uncomfortable part. I've had the hoarder part where, I did the free consultation, I walk in and then there's so much stuff. So what I did is I still walked through. I made sure she did not feel judged by me at all. But I also, she knew the truth. She knew it was a hoarding situation. Yeah. So I helped her not feel judged. And I was like, listen, I just don't think that I am specialized enough. Like there are hoarding specialists. And so I'm going to get you the information. I truly wish you all the best. I would love for you to reach out to her because I know they can help you and they're more qualified to help you than I am. And I don't want you wasting your money. Like it needs to be about them,
Of course. Yeah.
every person that calls you, not every, maybe 80% of the people that call you are going to say, I'm borderline hoarder.
Okay.
They are not. They are
They're
not.
not.
Like, but they will say that. And so don't let that like freak you out or anything.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's
Yeah. And that's
hilarious.
why I always tell people that's actually normally my opening, because almost
Mhm.
every person that calls, they have so much shame on them, especially that first phone call when they're reaching out.
Of course. Yeah.
Like they feel so stressed, so shameful, like they're just, and so they'll always start with, oh my gosh, okay, so it's going to be the worst house you've ever seen. I know it is,
right.
but I just want you to know, it kind of is borderline hoarding. And I always tell them, listen, everyone's definition of hoarding is different.
Right.
You are not going to
Right.
show me anything I have not seen.
Right.
But this is exactly why I need to set up the consultation, is so I can do a walkthrough and help and come up with a plan. So on the day of the session, I come prepared and can jump straight in.
Mm-hmm.
Like I always make it's beneficial to them to let me come do my free consultation is kind of the point I'm getting at with them, which it is. But you've got to set your client expectations, telling them how it works, what you're thinking, why they should do this. Like you've got to always, you've got to always manage client expectations is the point. Always.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. But listen, I know it's so much. And
but I feel so much better already.
Good.
So
and that's the point. So your homework, right? You're going to go to my website. You're going to download that PDF. And then if you have not already, maybe listen to those first few podcast episodes I have that go through the PDF, explaining each one in a little more detail of how to actually do it. But you're also going to make it your own. If it's a part of it that you're like, I don't feel like I need to do that right now, then don't do it. Like whatever just go with your gut. Like you go with your intuition. If you are good with coming to the groups or get a chance to come to the groups, because that is a lot of other women that are in the exact same place you are. And my goal in all of this is not just to have a membership that has, because everyone has that nowadays, right? That has a podcast. They've got a membership group that has groups in it. My goal in all of this is to give professional organizers a place to come to like see what other organizers are going through in the same season, kind of talk about where they're going through. Like it's more of an interactive thing than it is, hey, listen to me teach or listen to, it's not that. It's a collaborative process with all of the women that are in that group. Now, if you need to listen for 1 or 2 times to be comfortable, that's fine. But, the point of all of this is I want us to have almost like a real estate office where we each have our own businesses, but we have a hub, an office, a place we can come to ask those questions, to get feedback, to see, oh, I'm not crazy. Every other person in the same season I'm in is going through the exact same thing as me.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and it can be overwhelming to start something on your own. I mean, like you said, I'm such a people person that doing something on my own like this seems just very intimidating and isolating,
Yes.
So I think any connections like we can make definitely are helpful.
And then definitely come with a list of questions for the day of the group, because that's kind of the point of those is like we go around real quick and each person, depending on how many people are there, each person gets a section of time. But the awesome thing is it's not just me answering, it's also getting feedback from other people that are kind of in that same place. And so it's really a beautiful thing that's happening with these group calls.
That's awesome. I have them on my calendar, so I am looking forward to that.
Absolutely. And then I also do like the actual coaching calls like this. So if at any point, like you need to set up another, like if you get so far ahead and then you're like, oh my gosh, like, okay, now what are the next steps? Or I'm hitting this point of, whatever, like by all means, reach back out. I definitely want to make sure that each and every person that is listening to my podcast and each and every person that is in the membership feels seen and heard. that is my goal in creating what I'm creating. So thank you, Heather, so much for coming on the podcast and letting us do this coaching session. It has been amazing to get to know you, and I'm so excited for your journey ahead. You have been listening to the Pro Organizers Coach podcast. Go to the show notes to find all of the links mentioned in this episode and hit that subscribe and automatic download button so you don't miss a single thing. Thanks for listening.